to sprinkle pure paraduma water on a nida, and at the moment of contact, the water would become impure. Because you're allowed to do that. So we're going to say that you're also allowed to sprinkle impure water on the nida, because it's exactly the same. The moment of contact and prior tuma is the same halacha. The Rabbanan say that no, impure water from before is not valid. It's only if at the moment of contact it becomes impure, then that would be valid, because the purification of the water of the paraduma comes exactly at the same moment that it's becoming impure, which is fine. So in nida you're allowed to sprinkle on, but you're not allowed to sprinkle impure water on someone else. The water was impure from before, that's not good. So what do we see now? Now we have to go back to what our question was. The question was, if you sprinkle blood on a beged that's tamei, at the moment that it comes in contact with the garment, it becomes tamei. So according to the way Abaya explains the paraduma water on a nida, that the moment of contact is definitely acceptable. So here also we would say that, at least according to Rabbi Elazar, so here also we would say that at the moment of contact it was still acceptable, and therefore it needs to be laundered. We don't say that the blood was impure. You follow that? We won't say that the blood is impure. Okay, that was the comparison. It was a long discussion to prove that when something happens simultaneously, you say that you can view it as if each one took place independently, that it took place independently, and therefore it's as if it got absorbed into it and it needs to be laundered. No, the last point I didn't tell you correctly. Because Rabbi Elazar holds that the same way sprinkling on a nida is acceptable, so too sprinkling impure water is also acceptable. How is he able to say that? Because he holds that when something happens simultaneously, it's as if it happened prior. That's why and because I know that you're allowed to sprinkle on a nida, so too you're allowed to sprinkle on blood that was already, you're allowed to sprinkle water that was already impure. That's his proof. Because if it happened simultaneously, it's allowed. So if it happened prior, it's also allowed. So that would prove to me also that the blood that gets sprinkled onto a beged that's impure, it's as if the blood was impure before as well. And therefore, according to Rabbi Elazar, you don't need to launder. I told it to you wrong. According to Rabbi Elazar, the blood you don't need to launder, because he compares the two of sprinkling the paraduma water onto a nida is the same as sprinkling tummy water. So therefore, we're going to assume that we're going to say that blood that goes onto a garment that's impure, it's as if the blood was impure beforehand. Blood that's impure doesn't need to be laundered off the garment. However, according to the Chachamim, they don't compare sprinkling onto a nida, which is acceptable, the paraduma water onto a nida, which is acceptable, to water of a paraduma which is impure. They say that's totally different. Why? Because what happens beforehand is a problem. What happens simultaneously is not a problem. So according to them, you will need to launder if it touches a tamei beged, if it goes onto a tamei beged, because it wasn't as if it was tamei before. That was kosher blood that got absorbed into it. Okay. Rava Amar, the Kuli Alma Ein Danin. Rava says everyone holds that you don't view Tuma at the same time, simultaneous, as if it happened before. So what is the machlekes between Rabbi Lazar and Chachamim? B'hacha b'hakim it's different machlekes. Rabbi Lazar savar hazah tzricha shir u'mitzdarfen lazais. Rabbanan savar hazah ain't tzricha shir. Question is, how much paraduma water do you need? And Rabbi Lazar holds that you need a certain measurement. So you have to view the water going onto the person that's tamei, like in slow motion.
Oh, okay. Right. Okay. So, the first drop.
That as the drop becomes tamei, she's also becoming pure. But then I would sprinkle again, and I could keep getting another drop, a pure drop before it becomes tamei. So yes, the water is tamei, but one drop at a time. So I could keep doing it. Yes, the water's becoming tamei, but it's okay. I lost the first drop. Now I do it again, and it can increase to create purity. So the fact that you can sprinkle on a nida means that impure water is still okay. The impure water is okay because it's collecting afterwards to be a shear. In other words, the sprinkling on a nida is a good proof. According to the Rabbanon, sprinkling on a nida is no proof because you don't need a shear. So the fact that you can sprinkle on a nida, that doesn't tell me anything about tamei water. Tamei water would actually be not good. Sprinkling on a nida is... Sprinkling on a nida is no proof that tamei water is good, because the Rabbanan hold that you don't need a shear. So just the very first drop that touches the nida would be mitar her. So she becomes pure simultaneously with the water becoming tamei. That's good enough for the rabbis. But impure water would not be good. And according to Rabbi Lazar, I have a bunch of simultaneous drops that can add up. I can collect it together. Okay, let's leave it at that. Whatever the case is, it doesn't tell me back to our question, which was, do I view something prior as if it's happening simultaneously, and that would tell me about blood that's going on a garment that's tamei? Would that would only be according to Abaye. According to Rava says that the machlekes is something else. It has to do with paraduma if it requires an amount. Okay. Let's try to get to the Mishnah. It says over here, at least maybe to the end of the page, chatas psula. If there's an invalid chatas, Tana Rabbanan, the rabbis taught, midama, from its blood, if it sprinkles on a garment, midam kshera, that means from kosher blood, but not from a invalid blood. Rabbi Kiva says, remember this was quoted by before when Levi had a question of Rebbe. If it had a time that it was kosher, v'nifsala, but it became impure, damatan kibas. You still need to launder it. If it never had a time that it was valid, v'nifsala, and you don't have to say v'nifsala, it never had a time that it was valid. Ein damatan kibas. It doesn't need to be laundered. Reb Shimon says, ein damatan kibas. Reb Shimon is the first opinion, that it doesn't need to be laundered, whether it ever had a time of validity or not. My time of the Reb Shimon. What's the reason for Reb Shimon? Ksiv Isa. One pasuk says, that it is eaten, or she, it, ksiv midama, and it also is written from its blood. So I have two exclusions. One is coming to include, to exclude rather, when it did not have a time that it was valid, and one's coming to when it did have a time that it was valid. Rabbi Kiva, what does Rabbi Kiva do? Is also two exclusions. Oisa, when it says Oisa, that's prat litruma. That's coming to tell me that when a vessel absorbs truma, you don't need to kasher the vessel afterwards. So that's a special halacha. That's the exclusion. Only a sacrifice that gets absorbed in a vessel, you have to kasher the vessel if you want to use it for other food, but not for truma, not truma food. Reb Shimon Latamei, Reb Shimon doesn't use that. Doesn't say that you need to teach me that. The Amar, he holds kachim kalam in tom riku shtifa kolshkin truma. Even a sacrifice that's kachim kalam, you don't need to break the vessel. You don't need to kasher the vessels, or if it would be earthenware, break the vessels. And for sure truma, in the excavations in Shiloh, they found all that pottery, the clay pots, because they had to break all the vessels after the sacrifices. They would make cheap pots to cook the clay pots, and that way they found like mounds of broken pots, because pottery you can't kasher. Let's see the Mishnah. Actually, you know what? Why rush? We're halfway through today's page. Hopefully we'll catch up.